Hi, and welcome again to our home. I'm Bonnie Goldman, a volunteer for the Bordentown Historical Society. I've been giving a virtual tour of my rolling pin collection. This is part 3. Hopefully you've seen part 1 and 2, and if not, maybe you'll go back and visit those 2 parts as well. So this is a short video. I'm going to start with these blue and white pins, which are both English and German. Maybe one of them is Dutch. These 2 are really beautiful. These are English, excuse me. This one's marked. This one is not, but I'm quite certain that it's an English pin. This one is likely a German pin. This one we're not really sure about. Let's see. It's actually English as well. Blue Willow. This is a German pin. It's called Meissen. It's from the Meissen company, I'm quite sure, which was in business for a very long time. And this pin could actually date back to the 1800s, sometime in the 1800s. It could also be from the early 1900s. This is probably a German pin, but this one, which looks very Dutch, I think is a Dutch pin as well. Possibly the next one up is German. And the last one, the top one, I think is also a German pin. And like some of the others that you may have seen, if you did see either the first or second part, the fact is these are porcelain pins. They're very fragile. They didn't all survive, and that's what makes them a little bit special and unique. And they're just really beautiful. So some of these could have been actually used, because these are heavy, but because they are so special and so delicate, many of them probably would have been decorative. I have some others on the way up to the step, and these are pretty much just ordinary wooden pins that I probably collected in the beginning of my collection when I was focused on wood, not aware of the fact that there were beautiful glass and porcelain pins, but they're still pretty cool. Now these are on the way upstairs. And just for your information, part 1 represents all the pins in the kitchen. Part 2, the mudroom. This is the dining room, which, as I mentioned in one of the other versions of the tour, this house was built in 1750, and you are now in a room that was part of the original house. So for what that's worth. And you should also know that this is the end of the rolling pin collection in terms of the rolling pins being allowed to be anywhere in the house other than mudroom, kitchen, and dining room. They have to social distance from all the other rooms in the house, per order of my husband. Otherwise, things would really get out of hand. So I'm going to show you a couple that I've taken out and placed on this table, which also, for those of you interested in antiques, is a trestle table from about 1800 that it was in my dad's barn when I was growing up on what had been a dairy farm. It was used as a work table, so it was very well used, but I love it. Now, these 2 pins are actually not that old, and these are Polish. They're made in Poland. Very, very pretty, very decorative, and you've probably seen this type of porcelain in bowls and, other porcelain items. But they are very pretty, and they look good with the collection. I think I maybe got them 10 years ago. This is a spongeware rolling pin. I don't think it's all that old, although it does have some crazing. So I have no idea where this was made. I don't know how old it is. And it's the only one that I have seen like this. I do have a spongeware collection of spongeware bowls, for those of you who know about spongeware. So I do have quite a few spongeware bowls, some of which are in the dining room here. So this spongeware rolling pin has been living with its relatives. And then we have one more set of rolling pins that are hung horizontally here, and there's some very special ones that I want to show you. Well, there's another French rolling pin here. We talked about that, and two at the top. We talked about that in the kitchen, the French rolling pins. this rolling pin here is the most expensive wooden pin that I ever purchased. It is tiger maple. You can sort of maybe see how beautiful the wood is. And the handles are ebony, black. Walrus ivory is the white strip on each side of the handle. And the tip is mother of pearl. It is said to have been made in Nantucket, Massachusetts. It's just a beautiful rolling pin. It's really like a piece of furniture. I can't imagine that anyone would ever have used it. I certainly didn't and wouldn't. I have 2 Russian rolling pins, actually 3. The third one is a little baby that's in the kitchen. And a friend of mine who is Russian, Yelena, got these for me on a trip to Russia many, many years ago. So there's sort of, you know, they've got the decals that you might see in those little Russian dolls that kind of fit one into the other. And they're just really delightful. And I have another very special and beautiful pin. I hope you can see how beautiful this wood is. I went to Wales with my dad when, well, so many years ago. He was in his 70s. We took a trip to Wales. And I went into a shop where this man had beautiful wooden items, bowls, and all kinds of things made of wood. But he didn't have a rolling pin. But I asked him if he could make one for me, and he said he would. And this rolling pin was made in 1995 by Alan Cunningham. He put his name and the date in the back of the rolling pin. I don't know if we can pick that up. I do have an exceptional videographer, my husband. And at the other end, he reminded me that this is spalted Berwick elm, which is a wood apparently unique to Wales. Beautiful burls in this wood. It took over a year for him to get this pin to me. I'd already paid him, and I thought, boy, am I gonna get the shaft from a Welsh man? But it turned out when I contacted him, he said he wasn't happy with the first one that he made and he had to make it again. It's a beautiful pin. Excuse me, Sashi. And let's see, otherwise, one of the things I wanted to show you here, actually a couple. This is a tin rolling pin. There was a small one that I showed you in the kitchen. These are very rare. I'm not sure of this age, but I'd say early 1900s. It could even be older than that. It's got really nice wooden handles. And of course, the tin is cool. But, you know, I don't like the idea of metal against dough myself, but I know that they did use tin. They used it also for making candy. And then this pin here is a contemporary pin. I have several of these, and actually, hold on, I'll give you a glimpse of one other in a different color. So this gentleman, he signs his pins. His name is Tom Foster. This one's very pretty as well. And it's my understanding, I've had them for a long, long time. And I think he made these in the 1990s. So these are beautiful contemporary pins. The majority of my pins are vintage, but I do have a few like this that are a little more modern. And as a matter of fact, the most recent ones that I purchased, I think I got at Anthropology. Nice bright colors and kind of fun. I love the colors, as you can see from what I'm wearing. I kind of like greens and bright colors, oranges. So, you know, there you go. Looks pretty good. And really, I think that's about it for this room. If you want to pan the wall, Steve, you can see the original paneling from the 1750s, which we found under 3 layers of wall. Really, really wide boards. Kind of cool in that regard. And so I will say that I hope you've enjoyed this third visit with my rolling pins, if it is your third. And if not, I hope you'll want to go visit the first and second segments. I thank you for coming, and I want to tell you again that the Bordentown Historical Society, I've done this for them as a volunteer. Many of our events this year will be canceled, as I've mentioned before, given the COVID virus situation. And so if you are able to donate to the Bordentown Historical Society, it will be greatly appreciated, and you can go to bordentownhistory.org. And I wish you all well. Thank you so much for visiting. Bye-bye. What do you think?